This is Mew Mew. She likes bacon. Look at her beautiful eyes. She is skinny as a rail. Well, I mean, I say she's skinny as a rail. She's gained a lot of weight since she came here. I got her. Here's another kitten. Yeah, this one showed up in my storage shed a couple weeks ago, and my daughter said we had to keep her, so we had to keep her. But anyway, uh, I was talking about Mew Mew. I love that cat. That's my cat. Her sister lives here with her. I got her from the shelter. My job is to get her healthy because she's so frail, and she is getting better. This video is about probability of the Bible. It's the elephant in the room. When you go to church, people say, well, did they 100% believe in the Bible, and they 100% believe that it's inherent? Some of them say that. Most of them say that it's 100% inherent, that there's no way that it can't be true, and all this, that, and the other. Okay. And we have assumptions. One of my assumptions is that I believe more in the Bible than those people do, based on more evidence. And that's a completely arrogant thing to say, and I don't care. I'm more interested in truth than just about anything, because the more truth that I have, the more I can reflect my light upon other people, which for some reason is important to me. Leaving this earth knowing that I did the best I could to make it a better place just seems to be something that's important to me for some damn reason. And I am completely grateful for that feeling. I'm completely grateful for what the world or God has given me. And it's just a complete feeling of gratitude. It's a complete feeling of this, that, and the other. I'm ranting again, but that's fine. Let's talk about probability in the Bible. So there is absolutely positively a guy named Jesus that walked the earth. Well, I mean, you could say, yeah, maybe there's. I guess you could say that maybe it's one of the cats knocked down something. But anyway, I guess you could say it's possible that maybe he didn't walk the earth. Maybe it's just a made up story or whatnot. But it's in other places. It's not just in the Bible, and it just seems highly unlikely, even to atheist scholars and all that. When you watch there was a PBS documentary that I watched so many times because it was at the library that came out in the early 2000s, and there were so many atheists and agnostics on there. There were scholars that just told the story of Jesus just like anybody else would, just that they didn't believe that he was God. They didn't believe that a lot of the things that he said was true, but a lot of the things that happened in the Bible were true things that actually happened. So the elephant in the room, probability of the Bible. Is it true? Is it false? Is Jesus God? How much of God is Jesus? How much do we have to believe to have what people want, which is to go to heaven? I think that that's the main reason. It's kind of like a intuition that people want to go to heaven, so they are good and they want to be just good. And this is a mathematical equation to them, and it's what drives them. And that is, how good do I have to be to get into heaven? And I want to be just good enough to make it, because I don't want to risk what I have on earth to not, I want to have fun on earth, but I also want to go to heaven. So what is the least amount I possibly have to do to go to heaven? And Jesus said it was easier for a camel to enter through an eye of a needle than it was for a rich man to go to heaven. And if you look at all of us right now, even though there's a lot richer people out there and there's a lot of injustice, compared to biblical times, people were extremely rich. So anyway, and that was something this is something I'm going to go go through and make another video on. But is that really what Jesus was here for? Because they only asked him that question. they asked him the question, what does it take for, I have all these wealthy possessions. I don't want to give them up. And Jesus said, hey, and so what do I got to do to enter the kingdom of heaven? Literally, this is what the story is. And then Jesus replies, it's hard for a rich man. And they asked him that question. Jesus didn't just come out and say, this wasn't something that he was out preaching. As a matter of fact, he talked about other stuff before that during that conversation, before he even got to the part of it's hard for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. So basically what I'm saying is that there's this alternative that people have created in their minds, and they've created in their religion, that either we go to heaven or we don't. And this is what Jesus came here for, is to teach us how to go to heaven. And that's what we care about, is going to heaven, which I don't think that Jesus gave us that alternative at all. I think that it was more of a, let's live our lives for the now, and let's find out what happens later. I think that this whole thing about going to heaven is just an amalgamation made up in people's minds, because that's what people care about. People are worried about death. People are worried about dying and going into oblivion, which is an in a big sense, just an irrational fear. Let's say we're here for 80. Let's say I live to be 80 years old. Well, and there's nothing. It's oblivion after that. I die. You put me in the roots, I can turn into a tree, or you can put me in a casket and I'll rot. And guess what? It's neither here nor there, because all I have is this moment. So the best thing for me to do is for me to make the best out of what I have with what I got. And for some reason, I have this intuition that I need to make the world a better place for whatever I can, with whatever resources I have. And for some reason, that's important to me. To other people, money's important. To other people, love's important. To other people, this, that, and other is important. For some reason, I feel like the emotion that I mostly feel is gratitude, and that I need to give back. Which is funny, because that's something that Donald Trump says, and I'm not a fan. So, probability of the Bible. We're looking at the Gospels themselves. They date so far back. Jesus died in 30 A.D., the first Gospel written in 50 A.D., and then they make other Gospels comparable to that. There's a probability that the Gospels are probably anywhere from 5 to 10% true. Just absolutely. There's no doubt about it. Jesus, let's say, for instance, the probability of him flipping the money tables at the synagogues was, I would say the probability of that happens probably at least 50-50. So you're looking at different things that happen. There's at least a 50% chance they happen. So therefore you have that's 25%. You're looking at different things that happen in the Bible, literally. You're looking at about a 25% chance of that happening. So, and you just keep whittling it down and whittle it down. The gospel's got to at least be from 5 to 10% true. That doesn't mean that Jesus is God. It doesn't mean that there is a God. It just means that the things that happen in them are that far possible. So then we get into, how possible is it that it's all the way true, 100% true? I don't know what the possibility of that is, and I could lean towards that it's 100% true. I could lean towards that it's 50%. I mean, I could lean towards a lot of things, and I don't believe it matters. I believe for religious purposes, and I mean religious purpose in a negative way, that it does matter, because religious people do care about that, and religious people are always saying the Bible is 100% true. It may very well be, I don't know. But my whole thing is like, okay, let's say something isn't true. Let's say the book of Hebrews was made by somebody that wasn't close to the process, wasn't close to Jesus, wasn't close to his disciples, and it wasn't inspired. Well, what does that do to your faith? What does that do to your faith? Do you throw out the book of Hebrews and just say the rest of it's true, or does that hurt your faith now that you know that there was a book in the Bible that was put there that was uninspired? Well, to me, it doesn't make any difference whatsoever. And as a matter of fact, none of it makes any difference whatsoever. It doesn't make. I believe in the Messiah. Even if the Messiah doesn't exist, I still believe in him. But we're going back to truth. And how important is truth? So you got truth and belief. Which one's more important? I think about this a lot. Well, truth is important to the point that what we believe is true. So if let's say that for sake of argument, let's say the Bible is 100% true. Let's say that you go all the way through it and there is an absolute positive right way to look at it that is 100% true, and it's true from beginning to end. Now, obviously, from my point of view, the Bible in this translation cannot be 100% true, because I know for an absolute fact that this is mistranslated. I can prove it. It's not hard to do. I can prove it within a matter of seconds. So I know that there's a problem there. I can go back to the original Greek, which I think is one of the most interesting things, that it was called Common Greek, and it died. The language died itself soon after Jesus died. So what does that tell us? It tells me that God killed it so we could have it, and that we've turned around and we don't even care about it. Because, well, I mean, I'm sure there's people out there that do care about it. I haven't met one of them, but I'm sure there's people that look at the Greek and they say, well, this is different than what this is saying. So I want to use that and read it and learn it for what it is and tell the truth. I'm sure I haven't met those people, but I'm sure they're out there somewhere, or they were out there at some point in time, and I'm just sitting out here on my own, which is perfectly fine. It goes back, for me, it goes back to gratitude. I can know the truth, or I can get closer to the truth. And yes, it's a comparable thing. I'm comparing myself to religious people, but I'm grateful. You know, it's like one of them things where, well, Jesus said, well, this guy sits on high because he feels like he's better than everybody else. But my point of view is, I do feel like I'm better than religious people because I do have the truth. And I don't mean that in a derogatory term. I want them to be better than me. I want them to be way smarter than me. I want them to be way more correct thinking than me. I want them to do better than me because I believe in a better earth. I believe in a better society. But when it comes to truth, it's important to me to know the truth, because the more logic I have, the more truth I have, the better my belief is, the better I can use my belief, and the better I feel fulfilled and happy. Uh, so, anyway, back to the probability of the Bible. So, how much of it is true? How much of it can possibly be true? Well, 100%. Well, like I said, from original, it can be 100% true. Now, do I personally believe it's 100% true? I don't know. There's some things that don't line up. There's some contradictions. I don't care about contradictions, but I do believe that there could be errors in the Bible. I do believe that there could be some books in it that shouldn't be in it. I do believe that there's some things that Paul says that sound extremely misogynistic, that I don't want to have anything to do with, that don't make any sense compared to what Jesus teaches. But maybe that's just my mind putting onto it what it is not teaching, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe God is a misogynist. I don't think so, but let's just say, for the sake of argument, God is a misogynist and he wants men to be above women. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I mean, sure, it's a possibility. And when we go back to what people believe, and their level of belief, let's say, and I think I probably wander around from about 40% believe in the Messiah to about 60%. I don't fully 100% believe, and I don't fully 100% that you have to believe. There's some stuff in the Bible later on, not at the beginning, not what Jesus said. Jesus said faith of a mustard seed move a mountain. Well, faith of a mustard seed, it's pretty small. It goes on to say later on, other writers go on to say that faith is something that's unseen. And my whole thing is like, well, it really helps if you're there, if you're a disciple of Jesus and you see him get crucified on the cross and you see him get resurrected. I mean, that's pretty darn pertinent information. That's pretty darn telling information that it's true, that we don't have because it's so far back and we didn't videotape it. So, and I always say, we had this conversation at work the other day, that if you could go back in time and witness one thing through a bird's eye view, you're not there, you're just looking at it like you're watching a movie, that you would go back and you'd watch the crucifixion and watch him get resurrected to know if it's true. And there's nothing wrong with that. I know that, it somebody who is given much will be given more. Somebody that is given little will be given less, or however the Bible says it. I'm paraphrasing, and I'm not saying it correctly, but what I'm saying is like those people saw something and believed something based on what they saw more than what we see. So we are, in my opinion, in my perception, we're allowed to go back and look at this and question it. We're allowed to go back logically, which that word is throughout the Bible, logic. We are allowed to logically look at it and say, hey, maybe it's not true. We're allowed to do that. So, and back to the probability of the Bible, well, there could be books in it that aren't true. How probable do I think it is true from beginning to end? I don't know. You can't know. But let's say it's 50-50 that it's true. Let's say that it's 100 that it's true. And in my mind, the probability levels fluctuate. One day I might not believe it as much as the other. I always tell myself I believe it. And I always feel like I have extra information because I know a lot of what the Greek says, and I know a lot. And when you have that information that religion is not true, that Jesus delivered people out of religion, that makes my belief more true to me, because that makes sense to me. Just like other stuff make other sense to other people. I've always thought, and before I made this video, Mormons. There's actually a probability that Mormonism could be true. It's an extremely low probability. It's about 1 out of 500 trillion, but it's absolutely, it could be true. It in a probability situation, in a mathematical, logical situation, it could be true. It's just so unlikely that it's not true but anyway, Mormons, they talk about a burning of the bosom. Do you feel a burning of the bosom? Let me know when you feel a burning in the bosom, and that'll let you know that the Book of Mormon's true, that Joseph Smith was a prophet, and that Jesus existed. And Christians will oftentimes, people that are apologetics against Mormonism, will oftentimes use that to prove that Mormonism can't be true if they're asking you to believe in it based on burning in the bosom. Well, I think that Christianity, the religion itself, is very similar in that respect. Christianity asks you to feel something. I don't think that they outright do it like Mormonism does, but in most cases they're asking you to go on a gut feeling. And I don't know if Jesus ever did that or not. And that kind of goes into predestination versus full grace, or whatever, or choice versus no choice. Let's say, for instance, like the Presbyterians, the Calvinists, isn't it? Yeah, the Calvinists believe that it's all predestination, and they're always being criticized for not witnessing to other people because they believe that they were predestined to believe, therefore that they don't necessarily make their own choices. Well, predestination and free choice, they coexist, just like other things like universal truth and absolute truth. All these things coexist. Free choice, no free choice, these things all coexist, but the design of them is to get people fighting each other. That way nobody can ever be on the same page and believe the same thing, and then society can't move forward. These are all designed. We live in a systematic mess, and the whole world is a systematic mess, but here in the United States, it's a complete just systematic mess. And I can make a video on that. That's a good thing to make a video on, why this place is just such a systematic mess. We have all these problems, and they're based on people not, because the elites are never going to do anything for us. We have to do things for ourselves to fight elitism. But as long as we're down here arguing about, abortion, non-abortion, free, choice, no choice, truth, absolute truth, predestination, non-predestination. You're a Methodist, I'm a non-denominationalist, I'm a Baptist, I'm a Mormon. As long as they can get us all fighting on the lower end, it'll keep them in power, and that's all they care about. And we're in this whole system is designed to be like that. It's designed to hold us down. So, probability of the Bible. Um, you're I think I've said enough of what I want to say about it. I think I've got my point across. I'll go back and watch this, and I'll see if I can um, make a part two and just make it more succinct. Anyway, thank you. Bye.